The biggest lie that we're told about creativity is that it belongs to other people, that it's the exceptional few, not us, that are lucky enough to fulfill their creative potential. And we believe it. We see artists and performers and writers all as set apart from us, gifted with talent we'll never have and capable of seeing the world in the ways that we can't. So we accept our lot, that creativity isn't in our nature, that we didn't win that particular lottery, and we go about our lives sensibly, in pursuit of what others around us say is valuable. Then one day, maybe having approached midlife or later life, having spent our lives maybe caring for other people, working to pay the bills, getting cornered in a job we hate, we start getting this little niggling feeling. Something inside us is calling for our attention, and it can feel different for each of us. Sometimes it can feel like frustration that something inside us isn't getting expressed, or a sense of isolation or loneliness that something inside us is going unseen and is not getting the room to breathe. It can feel like emptiness that comes from being unfulfilled, or maybe even anger that we've allowed something that's important to us to go neglected. This is what it feels like when our creative potential, trapped and squashed down by life, is calling to be let out. How is it we let our creativity get shut away? And more importantly, how do we free it? First, let's get clear on what creativity is. Creativity is about solving interesting problems, and problems are interesting because they have constraints. Others have defined creativity as the use of imagination or original ideas to create something, inventiveness. Creativity is the ability to transcend traditional ways of thinking or acting and to develop new and original ideas, methods, or objects. And would you look at that? Not a drop of paint spilled or words written or anything spoken out loud. No one has to go to art school or take a test. If you are using your imagination to manifest solutions to problems, then you are being creative. At home, at work, in the stuff that you make. But to be crystal, let's also be clear on what creativity isn't. Creativity is not necessarily about making art. Creativity is not about making something look pretty or nice. I hate that. Creativity is not a luxury that it's nice to have. Creativity is not just for children. Creativity is not something that you need a qualification to practice. Creativity is not a rare ability. It's not difficult to access. Creativity is a fundamental aspect of being human. It's our birthright, and it's for all of us. Hell yeah, Rick. Creativity is something that belongs to us. It's an innate part of our humanity. It's something we're born with. But if you already possess creativity, why is it sometimes you feel that you don't? In 1968, George Land and Beth Jarman conducted a research study to test for creativity in children. 5-year-olds were asked to look at a problem and to come up with new and innovative ideas. This was an exercise in imagination. The proportion of these children that scored in the genius level of imagination was 98%. These are 5-year-olds. This is pretty compelling evidence that creativity is a function of nature rather than nurture. The work then became a longer study. They went back and tested the children again at 10 and then at 15. They also applied the test to adults aged 31. And what is it they found? What do you think happened to the proportion of genius-level Imagineers in these cohorts over time and increasing age? They found that children got less creative over time. The percentage of adults in the genius-level imagination category was down to 2%. That's pretty depressing, isn't it? Land says that there are 2 types of thinking that are involved in creativity. There's divergent thinking, which is about generating multiple solutions to a problem, often using the subconscious mind. And then there's convergent thinking, which is about refining a single solution and is more of a conscious process. These are 2 different processes. Land says trying to think divergently and convergently at the same time is like your brain trying to fight itself. Think about that. How does it make sense? Have an idea and then immediately critique its value. It's trying to ice a cake when you're still looking in the cupboards to see what you could bake. Land goes on to talk about how our society's education model was designed to create workers for the factories. Industrial schooling for industrial production. A system that teaches young minds to be cooperative and to behave as predictably and productively as the machine they're destined for. Yeah, it's all gone a bit Matrix in here, I know. The point is, his work suggests that creativity is innate, it's not taught. Rather, what we are taught is how not to be creative. Think of the kind of messages you receive implicitly and explicitly from school. Give us the correct answer and demonstrate you've followed the defined process. Creativity isn't important, otherwise arts would be part of the core subjects. That doesn't sound very creatively nurturing. And then think of the messages that get layered on from our family and friends and society at large about what creativity is and what we might expect from our own creativity. All of these messages can sow beliefs that suppress a person's capacity for expression, for curiosity, for aspiration. We're taught to take the certain path, and we learn to be afraid of the uncertain. And that's where creativity lives. To help free our creativity, we need to unlearn what prevents us from being creative. Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. The only person who can deny your creativity is you, which is fantastic because the same person can give you permission to be as creative as you want to be. And you're a grown-up now, so you can choose to do that. But the critical voices in our head can be powerful. We can start by understanding the limiting beliefs that they bang on about. And once we understand them, we can change them. To slay the dragon, you must first name the dragon. The first step in rewiring our limiting beliefs is to identify them. So step 1, take some time to reflect and write down the limiting beliefs that you've picked up from your childhood and later on about what creativity is and what creativity means for you. Some of these messages you might hear in a particular voice from your past. If so, write that down too. For me, when I did that exercise, the kind of messages that came up were things like, earning a living is more important than creativity. You don't have the creative talent that others have, so why bother? If you share your dreams and ideas, you might fall flat on your face. Expressing yourself is showing off, and it's embarrassing to others. It's kind of confronting to hear those things that play automatically in the background of your mind. Step 2 in rewiring your limiting beliefs is taking responsibility. Wherever those messages came from, and from whomever, they are now yours to deal with. Choosing to take responsibility for them in the here and now is the only way to change them. And there is no certainty that even if you do choose to do this, you'll achieve the outcome that you're looking for. As with creativity, you have to value and embrace the process. And the creative process is necessarily and wonderfully uncertain. Step 3 is about changing the messages. Having identified the messages that are limiting your creativity and having taken responsibility for changing them with no guarantee of the outcome, you can now choose better messages. And those messages are going to come from one of two places: other people and yourself. First then, make a list of other people who speak to your curiosity and inspiration, either directly or indirectly. They might be people you know, or people on podcasts or other media that you listen to. Whoever they are, they need to be people who inspire you, who make you feel like more things are possible. For me, I have a number of friends who make me feel like the world is a bit bigger and things are a bit more possible. I also get really creatively inspired by being around the friends who I can play with. Usually the ones I can joke with and riff around ideas. I enjoy YouTube channels and podcasts where smart and compassionate people talk about the things that fascinate them. Enthusiasm is infectious. You can curate the helpful messages that you're receiving from other people out there in the world. You can also implant affirmative self-talk in your own head. Start by taking those limiting beliefs that you identified before and rewrite them to become the positive versions of those things. Some of my positively reworked beliefs are that people do earn a living from creativity, that your ideas are as valid as anyone else's. Expressing yourself is a natural and generous act that others value and are moved by. You can use these affirmations to rewire those limiting beliefs. You can even write them up, stick them on the wall so you don't forget about them. When those negative versions arise in your mind, choose to believe in the more positive and generative version. There are no bad ideas. Creativity is not something you can get wrong, and once you embrace that, then a lot of the fear about unleashing your creativity goes out the window. Creativity is just coming up with ideas and then following an idea to its realization. The more creative we allow ourselves to be, then the greater number and variety of ideas that we can come up with. We create possibilities and then we choose which one we want to follow. This state of divergent thinking that allows us to create lots of possibilities is so natural to us, we do it in our sleep. But we don't have to be dreaming to be thinking in that divergent mode. We just need to give ourselves permission to explore possibilities without immediately censoring ourselves. Give yourself permission. Surround yourself with the messages and the experiences that inspire you. Then follow your curiosity and see where it takes you. It will set you free.